Herbert is that good. His talent is unmistakable. His arm talent is elite. His physical talent, his ability to run or make plays with his legs, as has become the fancy or popular way of describing that stuff, it's elite. I think he thinks it well. I mean, I don't have any way of knowing it because he's been horribly coached. He had an absolutely terrible head coach. Brandon Staley was, in my opinion, the worst head coach in the NFL. He had Kellen Moore there this year. That's the one thing that gives me some pause. He had an accomplished and I think highly regarded offensive coordinator, and they still did not do any high-level winning. But for what it's worth, Harbaugh comes in with an unbesmirched record of elevating quarterbacks. I will once again remind everyone, he had Andrew Luck at Stanford. He got to San Francisco. Alex Smith at that time was a bust. Go back and look what Alex Smith's legacy would have been if he had retired before Jim Harbaugh got to San Francisco. He'd be one of the guys we talk about as having been a massive bust at number 1 overall. Harbaugh turned his career around. And then when Alex Smith was playing great, he got hurt. In came a total unknown, Colin Kaepernick, who had been a second-round pick out of Nevada. Harbaugh turned him into a star. Stayed with Kaepernick, and they were a play away from winning a Super Bowl. Went to college, and here's J.J. McCarthy, who is about to become the first Michigan quarterback to go in round 1 since Jim Harbaugh. So his track record of developing quarterbacks is as good as anyone's. He's about to do that he's about to mold the lump of clay that is Justin Herbert. It's got a chance to be special.
Yeah, I'll fill in a couple more points for you. When Alex Smith and Jim Harbaugh paired up, at that point in Alex Smith's career, his record was 19-31, and he had more interceptions than touchdown passes. He went 19-5-1 with a 30-10 ratio with Harbaugh as his coach. One other thing which I had totally forgotten is that he was also the Raiders quarterback coach in 2002 and 2003. In the first of those seasons, Rich Gannon won the MVP of the NFL.
Yep.
So, we're talking more than 20 years of data as it relates to Justin Herbert. This is a kid through 4 seasons that has a QBR of 64.7. So if you were to neutralize everything, literally everything else, what that basically means is that he should win about 65% of his games. That's what that means. He's 30-32. That is how held back Justin Herbert has been. He's got the highest QBR in the history of a metric that dates to 2006 of any quarterback with a losing record. Jim Harbaugh is going to remedy that from day one.
You and the rest of the world are picking against him on Sunday.
It's a team sport.
I won't do it. But I just won't do it. It's a team sport, but the quarterbacks are disproportionately important. Basketball is a team sport too. I understand not on the same level. But history is fascinating because it's written by the winners and it's written the way people want it to be written. But I was there. So I'm here to tell you, when the Bulls played Phoenix in the finals of 93, they weren't supposed to win. When the Bulls played the Knicks in the Eastern Conference finals of 93, they weren't supposed to win. The Knicks had home court advantage, and they beat the Bulls the first 2 games. That was the John Starks lefty dunk. I was standing right there when it happened. Phoenix had home court advantage. The reason that some of these games were played where they were played, notice when Michael Jordan had his last moment in Utah with his hand standing up in the air. That was game 6. Where was that game being played? It was being played in Utah because they went 2-3-2 back then. The Bulls weren't supposed to win all those championships. Every single year, this is the year it's going to catch up to Michael. Karl Malone is due, and this guy, Charles Barkley is too good, and Patrick, and every single time Michael won. Every single time Michael won. And so you're just going to have to show me. I will gladly come in here on Monday if Mahomes loses and say, okay, you were right, they beat him.
This is the biggest.
I need to see it happen.
This is the biggest challenge of his career.
But it has happened. That's the thing. Mahomes isn't bulletproof.
Well, I mean, no one is perfect. But what I'm saying is...
But you're comparing him to Jordan, who, when you get to the finals, he was.
Understand that. Yeah. But Jordan also lost to Detroit in the conference finals, back-to-back years. No one wins every single year that they play. The further you go, the better it is. I just said it a minute ago. The 3 Super Bowls Brady lost are way better than not having been in them in the first place. And the same can be said about Jordan. Jordan carried mediocre or / growing teams to the Eastern Conference Finals and played tough in 89 and 90, and as they were making their way there, and they finally broke through and won it all in 91. That's the way sports is supposed to work.
I'll tell you this. Patrick Mahomes has never gone into a game, in the regular or postseason, for which he has less business winning than this one. I'll put it that way. This Ravens defense will be the best defense he ever plays in the NFL.
Better than the Eagles last year?
Better than the Eagles last
Didn't the
year.
Eagles have 70 sacks last year?
Yeah, but they weren't nearly as good.
This Ravens defense is
front
way
to back
better.
as this. This defense is better than the Tampa defense that he lost to in the Super Bowl. It's better than the Cincinnati defense that stifled him in the second half in the AFC Championship game a couple of years ago. He has definitively the worst team. He's playing on the road. He's playing with a rest disadvantage. They have every reason to lose this game. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens have every reason to win this game. If he finds a way to do it, if they win the game and it's because of him, and if they win the game, it will be because of him, it will be the most significant victory of his entire career, and he has 87 of them.
Sometimes being in the position where everything is in your favor and you're supposed to win is not always a role people wear comfortably. And I just look at that Ravens team. Look, they've been the best team in the sport all year long. They deserve the credit. They deserve to be the favorite and everything else. I've seen weird things happen over the years. I've seen weirder things than Patrick Mahomes winning this game happen over the years. And I'll say it again. Until I see it, I won't believe it. An argument could be made that if Harbaugh wins a Super Bowl, he is going to have to be on the very short list of most accomplished football coaches of all time. Now, winning the national championship at both the college and pro level isn't a prerequisite to being in that conversation. But let's give you the list. You probably know it by heart. There are 3 coaches who have won the national championship on the college level and won the Super Bowl as head coaches. And they are Jimmy Johnson, Barry Switzer, and Pete Carroll. Let's dismiss Switzer immediately. Switzer was a magnificent college coach who walked into the most turnkey situation in NFL history, won a Super Bowl there. He gets as little credit for it. I'm not trying to diminish the man. He gets as little credit for that as a coach possibly can. He does not belong in this conversation. Jimmy Johnson definitively does. Jimmy Johnson was an elite college coach and an elite head coach. NFL head coach. Jimmy Johnson was a great coach at Oklahoma State. Jimmy Johnson was a dynastic kind of coach at Miami. He came to the Cowboys and turned that program around completely. And because of whatever it is that happened with Jerry Jones, he didn't last long there. He was only there for 4 seasons. They won 2 Super Bowls. He built a program that then won another. Now, he did go to Miami again, or he did coach again in the NFL in Miami and did not have major success there, which is the one thing that could separate Jim from him. Jim had massive success on the college level, won a national championship, made 3 straight college football playoffs. He had an enormously successful first stop as an NFL head coach in San Francisco, didn't win a championship. If he does win one with the Chargers, then I think if you look at those 4, and Carroll, of course, USC, awesome, but he's had unsuccessful head coaching stops in the NFL, the Jets for 1 year, the Patriots, where he did do some winning. And in Seattle, of course, he won a Super Bowl and made another. I think Jim definitely vaults right up into the discussion with those guys as most accomplished football coaches ever. The others, I guess, would have to be Saban, Belichick, Lombardi. I mean, just all the names that you automatically think of, they don't have to have coached at both levels in order to qualify.